Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture series on disaster recovery and build back better. In this lecture, I will show you some people's perspective on a reconstruction and rehabilitation work we call build back better, people's perspective. I will talk from Gujarat earthquake rehabilitation and reconstruction. In 2001, there was a big earthquake in the western part of India, in Gujarat state, particularly in Bhuj region, which is a population of 1 million and 28% per square kilometer. Literacy rate at that time was 57%, and it has a area of 44,000 square kilometer. So on 26th January 2001, there was an earthquake of 6.9 Richter scale according to Indian Meteorological Department. The epicenter of that earthquake was northeast, 20 kilometers northeast of the Bhuj town, and the tremor and the effect was felt 1,500 kilometer radius from the epicenter. And approximately 20,000 people were died, and another 160,000 people were injured, and you can see the asset loss due to earthquake. Housing sector is one of the most affected area. Estimated damage assessment for housing in Kutch was that there were 2.5 lakhs houses, buildings, residential buildings were partially damaged. 1.28 lakh residential buildings were fully damaged or collapsed. Total damage was 3.79 lakhs. Human life lost was 20,000 around. Seriously injured 20,000. Person injured 1.66 lakhs. There are also lots of cattle death. Here are some of the picture of Gujarat earthquake. You can see the devastations that happened there, and you can see it was everywhere. The devastations you can observe through these pictures, just for your references. Here is also some more in the villages, remote areas, also in urban areas. So after the Gujarat earthquake, the Gujarat government declared rehabilitation and reconstruction policy. We are focusing here at the housing sector, residential buildings. There are mainly two packages were available. Package one is that relocation of completely damaged villages, or like if there was a damage of more than 70%, buildings are affected, partially damaged or fully damaged, then this village will be relocated to other place. Of course, it depends on the consent of Gram Sabha, the local government there. And there they will build earthquake resistance infrastructure facilities, and the state government will provide layout design, technical specifications, compositions of material, ingredients for the reconstructions, and the minimum contributions. If any NGO is going to adopt a village, their contribution should be 50% of the total cost. This is basically for the relocations. The other package was given for in situ, and that is that if the village is partially or completely collapsed, devastated, damaged, then if the people do not want to relocate to another place, then it could be in situ development. And if the owners of the buildings, the citizens, they want to build their own house, then government will directly provide them financial assistance. In case that assistance will be given directly to the owners, 50% of the cost. Before that, there will be a damage assessment carried out by a team of government, and the allocated money will be given in 3 phases. First, just after the sanction of the project, they can get 40% of the, around 30% or 40% of the money. You can see this graph. And then when you finish the plinth lintel level, you get another 40% or 35%. Then the rest of the money will be delivered, the assistance, after the completion of the entire reconstruction. This is the category of different kind of assistance. Okay, like for the landless agricultural laborer, the house that will be built, plot area would be 100 square meter, and the construction area would be 30 meter. Marginal farmers up to 1 hectare land holding, they will get 150 plot area, and within that 40 square meter of construction area. The small farmer between 1 to 4 hectare land holding and others, they can have 250 square meter plot area, and the construction area will be 40 square meter. Farmers with more than 4 hectare land holding, they can get 400 plot area, and construction areas would be 50. They have different categories of damage assessment, G5 to G1. So G5, which was completely destroyed house, they can get that time Rs 3,000 Indian rupees per square meter, up to a maximum of 1 lakh, and then the rest of the will got. And those who are other hut, in case of hut, they can get 7,000. So actually, one of the objective of Gujarat Rehabilitation and Reconstruction is to build people-centric reconstruction and rehabilitations. The program should be people-centric. Now, the 2 package we mentioned here of rehabilitation and reconstructions, from that different approaches of rehabilitation and reconstruction may emerge. But we can actually take out of that 3 very prominent model or approach of rehabilitation and reconstructions of the Gujarat. One is from the package 2, that is owner-driven approach. In that case, the villagers, in which villagers decided to build their own house, they will get the money from the government and they will construct their own house. Okay, so they will get an assistance and government will help them to install rebuild physical and social infrastructure, and the owners, they will construct their own house by getting assistance. They can also contribute their money. This is we call owner driven, and also there is a kind of NGO or contractor driven approach that can be two types. One is product centric approach and people centric approach. This product centric approach, where it is done by the NGO itself, is mainly NGO driven or agency driven. People centric approach is more like a collaboration or partnership between people and the private agencies or NGOs. So we have total 3 categories of models: 1, 2, and 3. So we can see clearly here also that there is one package. From package number 2 there is owner driven, and from package number 1 there is 2, that is NGO driven and community NGO partnership approach. What they have done in Gujarat, post disaster interventions, they RS 1 lakh was made to the next of kin of each of the deceased person. Rs 1,250 rupees per family was given as a household kit was to provided, and in case of cattle death, different amount of money was given, like for goat 150, for bull 750 rupees, for cow 2,500, like that. Shelter reconstruction, some of the reports here. Progress of housing reconstructions in Kutch. Number of total destroyed houses was 1,56,000, a little more than that, in Kutch area. And that was planned by the NGO was around 50,000. Among them, the under construction house right now, that time 2003, was a little more than 6,000. Completed almost 40,000, little less than that. Self-construction, that is owner driven basically, is around 96 to 97,000, and the total houses constructed was 1,35,000 that time. In the mode of reconstructions, NGO constructions, you can see that even in case of NGO, mostly it was 56% was in situ, but it's a great number of also relocated house. In case of owner driven or self-constructed, majority are in situ development. Only 22% is relocated buildings. So total 102 NGOs, 100 NGOs were involved working on reconstructions. 65 of them have been a part of public-private partnership program, and 37 out of them is working as independently without much collaborations with the local people. 82% of work of the total requirement of housing by 2003 were reported as complete. 96,000 or little more than that was owner driven or self-construction house under the category of G4 and G5 damage category. And out of that 96, 31,000 NGO reconstructed house. Okay. Oh, sorry, another 31,000 was NGO reconstructed house. Now, what was the variation in the rooms in case of new houses? Is it increased, decreased, remain same? When NGO constructed, increase is around 20%. What they had before, they received more built up area, okay, or rooms, that is 20%. Most of the cases is same, but also significantly 27% compared to 20% increase, that decrease. Okay. Whereas in case of owner driven, it didn't increase much, also didn't decrease much. It remains most of the cases the same, the total area. Use of reconstruction house. Are they really using these houses according to Avian survey in 2003? NGO houses are almost also very significantly people are using. Owner driven, of course, but NGO driven also some people are not using, around 20%. Area of NGO constructed house, you can see this table, mostly from 200 to 350. This is around 50% or around 60% of the total stock, and this is from 350 to 450 or above. This is around 35% or little more than that. What was the level of satisfaction according to the Avian's 2003 survey, an NGO called Avian? That NGO, 80% people, those buildings were constructed by NGO, 80% are satisfied. And in case of owner driven, 91% were satisfied. The status of school, mostly regular, and some are irregular, of course. And here is also the list of cost of one unit in RS per square feet by NGO. Okay. The study area. We conducted surveys in 3 areas. I would like to show in different approaches and models and their case studies. One is NGO agency driven approach in Hajapar. That is 52 kilometers south from Bhuj. Area is of the village is around 4 square kilometers in total, including the agricultural land. Population is 720, household size is 6.5, literacy was 35%. Their main occupation is animal husbandry and agriculture. This was the old settlement of Hajapar. You can see this organic settlements. The yellows are the residential area, these greens are the agricultural areas, and the blues are public and semi-public areas. A distribution of communities, you can see that the Harijans and Muslims, they are on the outskirts. One side is a very segmented community. They prefer to live in one segments. And also the other caste, that is Maheshwari, they are in one sector. They are. So there are 3 groups category you can see. The electricity line, educational facilities, 1 primary school, health facilities, 1 health center, panchayat building, and 2 temples and 1 mosque were all destroyed. More than 80% of the houses were totally damaged by 2001 earthquake. The reconstructions, okay. So this was the existing before the earthquake, that was the layout. And this was the newly located village layout, okay. You can see here that these yellow colors are abandoned places. And some people who do not have any land rights in this area, no land rights, they don't have any formal land rights. And many people, they did not relocate it. They developed built their own house in their own. Some people, only a minor group of people, they didn't relocate it. Only a minor group of in dark maroon, they were relocated. This is the number of occupancy in the new. You can see this new constructed house is lying empty. The cost of dwelling units was 1,20,000 Indian rupees according to that time, comparatively much higher. So most of the houses are vacant. Only yellow part you can occupy it. And you can see here that many people did not actually relocate it to the newly constructed house because it's a totally different layout and people didn't accept that one. They have health center, but people are not using that. Ayurvedic health center, also this is not used by the people. The schools are there, it's primarily primary school. This is working well. People are using it. People are sending their kids there. Panchayat office is rebuilt, electricity installed, telecommunication system was installed. Constructions, those who were rich, they didn't relocate, better off, and they built their own house in the damaged site. Some people who didn't have the land tenure rights, they constructed temporary houses or got a temporary houses and remaining there. They were not included into the reconstruction projects, and the newly constructed projects remain unoccupied because these people were prepared to live together. They didn't like this new iron grid pattern of layout. It was done by the Hindustan Benevolent. There was no training program, allocation of financial assistance given to the NGO directly, and decision makings, villages were not involved into the decision making process. Government has provided the land for new site. Villagers didn't share any part of that. No contribution for the villagers financially. They didn't contribute any labor for the reconstructions. Building materials, all building materials for these reconstructions were locally available building materials. Contractor bought the building materials from outside. Entirely designed by the NGO without any involvement of the people. And it took 1 year, 22 months to finish this project. Women participation was not there. And cost was Rs 1 lakh in case of 40 square meter dwelling unit and Rs 80,000 in case of 30 square meter houses. And organizations, NGO and Sarpanch monitored the reconstruction work, but majority of the decision was taken by NGO. So what we see here that no utilizations of local resources designed by the NGO, no training program, NGO decide every aspect, very weak organizational setup, and absence of ownership right. People refuse this one, and absence of monitoring also. As a result, this project was very high cost and took some time, but it was mostly that socially not accepted. It was rejected by the villages. And the project did not help to enhance people's awareness, and the houses are poorly maintained. So actually that is increasing their vulnerability, okay? Mistrust between communities and NGOs and lack of educations. So this had happened in case of contractor driven approach. In community NGO partnership approach, we have Luria village that is 100 kilometer north from Bhuj. The area is around 5 square kilometer. Total population is 1,800, mainly by Harijans and Muslims. The population comprised by literacy rate was 35%. Their also occupation was animal husbandry, wood carving, and cultivations. You can see that most of the people are involved in cattle rearing and wood carving. So 50% of them are in cattle rearing and animal husbandry, and some are also involved in agriculture, around 20% of populations. Okay. And distribution of community, also you can see that there is a segregations that Harijans are there, and here are the Muslims populations, these two communities. And It's a poor community basically, around Indian rupees 2,500 to 5,000. This share the entire pie, almost 90%. So electricity supply, educational facilities, one primary school, they all were devastated by this earthquake. Here are the detailed extent of damage of the houses in Luria village. Totally destroyed bungas was 5, whereas the Kachapakka house was much higher. Bungas were little damaged or repairably damaged or irreparably damaged. But it is mostly the most affected are the Kachapakka houses. See, whereas it is only 5 to 7. Okay. Reconstructions. Total 235 houses were rebuilt, and each family was provided 2 traditional bhungas. Okay, bhunga style that is prone to resilient to earthquake and resilient to cyclone, that we found that was less affected by the earthquake. This style, with the help of NGOs, people reconstructed these bhungas and chowki along with the facilities for a separate toilet and bathroom. So each household, they received 2 bhungas, 1 chowki and 1 toilet, okay, and 170-meter connections to the village were given to the electricity. Water is now supplied by Mumhara Group water supply scheme. The villagers get quite regularly the water supply. Telecommunications was given to 11 houses, and other educational 2 primary schools and Anganaris were rebuilt. All the schools were reconstructed in Luria. Neighborhood clusters. So they decided that, okay, the people should interact with each other. So they made a very close neighborhood that is extending their kinship structure or their clan structure. And accordingly, they were divided the group into a cluster. And new village layout was well planned and also accepted by the villagers. Villagers have designed their own houses, therefore the dwelling units is very well maintained. The cost was much significantly lower, that is only 56,000 Indian rupees that time, and 40% of the dwelling unit is electrified and telephone facility was provided, and people participated in the reconstruction and rehabilitation process. Here is a file picture. So people were involved into the decision making process. They designed their own houses, finances, they provided 2,000 to build these houses. Muslims provided land to the Harijans, and in return Harijans given their own labor. Also each one member from each houses, they should provide labor. Building materials, they use the local building materials like sun-dried bricks, keep straw, branches of the babul tree were used. Women also participated. So people were very satisfied with these projects, particularly with shelter, very good, water supply, very good. Okay, and the cost of the one bhungas is around 22,000. Okay, and each cost of each dwelling unit was 55,000. The whole project was completed within 7 months. So they used the local skill, labor, land, building materials and money designed by the villagers, better village level organizations they had. They conducted training program, monitoring, and therefore they have low cost, socially acceptable and earthquake resistant building. Another one is the owner driven approach. In Bitta village, 85 kilometers from the Bhuj, total population is around 1,000, and it was the existing layout. You can see they have some commercial stumps, building, land use, and most of the residential yellow and some public and semi-public. It was the biggest village among these three villages. This was the village bus stop, and here a lot of Bansali, Vaishnav, Gabi, so a lot of distribution of communities are you can see here. An occupational distribution of villages. They are mostly involved as a cultivator and agricultural labor. Some are self-employed. Wage labor are also there. And traders, 12% are traders. Some people are rich, like 26 plus foreign, they have more income than 10,000 rupees. And some are poor, 33% around. So this showing that the Pakka house or concrete house broken, but whereas Bungas remain there without any impact of earthquake. Here you can see the damage level of the houses, those partially how they was affected in different category, and educational facilities were done, health facilities were done, panchayat. So people received money from the government and they reconstructed their own house. They also added money into it. Here is a Thakkar house built after earthquake. There were 153 meter connections in the village. Presently 3 tankers are providing water supply. They reconstructed, government reconstructed the school. Panchayat office was reconstructed. Also religious buildings were reconstructed. People built their own house, but there was no training program. People actually borrowed money from the government, the rest of the money, not borrowed, but they got the assistance from the money, government, and the rest of the money they provided. And source of money, 28% is the own money. They receive the loan from formal institution, also the community, Mahajans, our own local kins or relatives, they provide money. So these are some of the financial contribution from different, so a great number of people contributed. The dark one, you can see that they spend money for their own house, like 50,000 or more than 30,000. Here is the contribution of the labor for their own. Most of the people, they didn't provide their own labor, but they hired labor. You can see these all are hired labor. And some few people, especially the Harijans and low caste groups, they contributed labor for their own constructions. Here it was since they built their own house, they were satisfied and they constructed and it is well maintained. And most of the houses by 4 months to 6 months, 50% reconstruction took place. And for the wall, they use concrete blocks, bricks, stone, roof, mostly RCC, but also people use local tiles, mud 35% for the floor, cement 73%. The cost, it varies from owner to owner. In some cases, it is the lowest one is 50,000 to 1 lakh, but it's a highly cost, like 1.5 and more in many of the cases. People were very satisfied as per the shelter and electricity, but they were not happy with the public infrastructure. And some received the money from the government, but did not use it, use it for other purposes, so they have less monitoring. And upper class people are very less, but they receive more assistance from the government, whereas lower class people, they are the majority in numerically, but they receive low assistance according to some survey. And according to Avian, only 60% of houses are earthquake resistant in this village. So no utilization of local resource, weak organizational setup, inadequate training, inadequate monitoring, hegemony of upper caste in decision making. Therefore, they have high cost, long time, vulnerable structure, lack of awareness, and all is creating that that those who use utilization of local resources, they have less cost, short time, socially acceptable. That was the model we found. So we can say that it is the community NGO partnership approach that worked much better than others. Thank you very much.